Get appalled at. I'm blacker than Nina the Samoan. I just want freedom and want all these people left alone. How in the world is that chapping you? Laughable, you catch an attitude. Glad that you going back.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today we're going to do a mock draft where I'm going to do 10 drafts, 10 superstars from Raw to SmackDown, 10 from SmackDown to Raw, and I'm actually going to do some call-ups too. But I'm going to do the call-ups separate. Alright, so the draft is October the 1st and October the 4th. I don't know how many people will be drafted. I have no idea. It's always a stupid number of people. Usually Raw gets more picks than SmackDown. And this one I'm going to do the 1-to-1 because I refuse to do the 3-2 rule. I'm not going to do that. I'll be here all day with that. So we're going to do 1-to-1. I'm actually explain why I would move certain people where and why. So that ought to be fun. So first, NXT call-ups. I think there will be at least 2 main NXT call-ups. And those 2, I believe, will be Frankie Monet and LA Knight. I think that they are the 2 who don't really fit in modern NXT. They're a little older. They have some experience. I did see an article where Taya is saying like she never worked live wrestling before. And Taya is almost 40. And she's never worked live televised wrestling before. So, and what I mean by live televised wrestling, I mean commercial breaks and all that kind of stuff. Like, she's, of course, spent years and years and years in Impact. And she worked in Lucha Underground. So she's worked televised wrestling before. But those matches were edited, around what she did in the ring. In this situation, she's going to have to learn how to work around commercial breaks and things like that. So that's why she hasn't been wrestling that much. And she talked about how much of a challenge that was. So that might be the one reason why she may stay in NXT. And I know that's obviously going to be a problem for a lot of indie wrestlers who come from the independents who don't have any experience working live television. They have experience on pay-per-view, sure, but they don't have any experience working with camera, an excessive amount of cameras. And they don't have a lot of experience working around commercials, going in and out of break and stuff like that. Several years ago, TJP was talking about, WWE, man, they tell you everything. They might as well even script all the matches. It's like, yeah, because a lot of you idiots don't know what you're doing. You think you know everything. But how many of you guys ever worked live television? Not too many of you. And so when you see people, they make the joke like, you got to learn how to work the cameras. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then you see somebody who's been in the business 20 years. Taya started wrestling as a teenager, I believe, if I'm correct. And she's like, well, come to NXT and still have to learn how to work these cameras. It's not a joke. It's funny, but it's not a joke. So it says a lot. But I think she won't be there very long. I think her learning curve, because of her age, they're going to get her out of there. And to be quite honest, I don't see why LA Knight would need to be there just even a minute longer than he needs to be. This is a guy who's ready for a talk show on Raw. He's got it all, man. He looks great. He sounds great. He got a catchphrase. He can work. And even if he can't, it doesn't matter because it's WWE. The only problem he got is his age. That's the only problem he got is his age. And I think they will obviously be replaced by younger people. So NXT, if you're older or if you've been around for a long time, I think those would be the main 2 that would be jumping from Raw or SmackDown, or to Raw or SmackDown rather. I can't really put my finger on anybody else. Maybe I don't think that Timothy Thatcher or anybody like that could come up. It would be weird to bring Timothy Thatcher up on WWE TV. It would just be setting him up for failure because he doesn't have the personality. He would just be him and Cesaro throwing European uppercuts at each other for 6 weeks in a row. And that might be fun for a little while, but eventually he has to do something else. He has a very unique look, though. I will say that old Timothy Thatcher. But I don't see him being brought up as anything other than, an enforcer of some kind, and he won't be there very long. Hopefully they keep him on to be a trainer in NXT or something like that. But so my NXT call-ups, I'm basically just going to go with Frankie Monet and LA Knight. And that's pretty much it for the call-ups. So let's do Raw first. What 10 superstars should we give to Raw from SmackDown? Okay, number 10, I'm going to go with Toni Storm. Toni Storm has been botched on Raw. I mean, on SmackDown, rather. She hasn't done much of anything. The launch of Toni Storm seemed to be okay, and then she got lost in the shuffle immediately because SmackDown only cares about Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks, and Bayley when she's around, and Carmella for some odd reason. But Toni Storm needs room to grow, and she needs room to express herself and be who she is. And I think Raw is probably the best for that in this situation. Usually SmackDown is better due to the creative. But since she's already been on SmackDown and they have nothing for her except for dancing with Rick Boogs, just move her to Raw, man. At least she can have other people to interact with that, aren't doing anything. So, number 9, Carmella. In my Raw review, I actually stumbled across the absolute vortex, the hurricane of cringe that could possibly be Eva Marie and Carmella as a tag team. And even though neither one of them can work, they as two annoying heels. Oh, I can just imagine how terrible it could be. And yes, I want to foist that upon the American public. But no, really, the real reason I will move Carmella is because she's done everything she can do on SmackDown, and the character has run its course. And there really is, outside of after the whole champagne thing, there's nothing for her to do. She ain't been doing nothing but jobs. Now her character is completely vapid and stupid, and it's time for her to go. It's time for Carmella to do something else. And I think an extended run in the tag team division with somebody would be pretty good. Carmella is the kind of character, though, that she is very versatile in so much that she can do comedy, because she did all that comedy stuff with R-Truth. So she has range. Like, the character has range, the personality has range, the person underneath all of that has range. And she could probably get a chance to actually explore that on Raw rather than on SmackDown, when she just get limited to being beat up by Sasha Banks and calling herself the most beautiful woman in WWE. I hate what they've done to Carmella, because she has such potential at the beginning. Number 8, I'm going to go with the Alpha Academy, Gable and Otis. Now, the reason I would move Gable and Otis is because they do need more tag teams on Raw. I know they teased the Usos and the Alpha Academy on SmackDown, but since when do they tease things and actually follow through with them? Very rarely, if ever. I know Chad Gable is one of those guys they constantly bounce from between Raw and SmackDown every year, and he doesn't have, unlike a lot of people, he doesn't have a home. He just kind of, we need you to go to Raw. Okay, we need you to go to SmackDown. All right. Unlike other people who seem to find a place and stick there. Gable's just one of those guys where he gets bounced around. My fear is that on Raw, they will be turned back into a comedy tag team. And that's the one thing that I fear, because Raw just has so many of those comedy teams. But I can see them, doing something, at least having better opportunities on Raw, because they won't have to deal with the Usos and the Street Profits and all those guys. All right. So, number 7, the Street Profits. I think that the Street Profits have done great on SmackDown. I think they could be the premier team on SmackDown. But since that seems to be the Usos, the Street Profits will be doing great against RK Bro. And that's really what I want to see. Is I kind of want them to have an extended program, basically just to, the whole Montez Ford, Randy Orton thing. I just kind of want to see that. And I think that their entertainment value, while it's appreciated on SmackDown, I think that it's mostly, more appreciated and more necessary and more needed on Raw. I say this knowing that the Street Profits probably would not be moved to Raw or whatever. I'm almost certain they're going to stay on SmackDown for reasons I'll get into in a minute. Number 6, Dominic Mysterio. Just Dominic. Now, The reason why I'm going to say just Dominic because they've already started the story that Ray wants Dominic to be on his own, and I think that the best way, instead of I'm sure we could play the storyline out with Sami Zayn, which I would like and I would love that, but I think that part of it is if you snatch Dominic from Ray, I think that creates something that can be really interesting for the both of them. You could create that, you can further that storyline, and it's not like Dominic is dead. He's just on another brand. So you can constantly have Ray fretting over him and, doing something unique with their relationship because Ray does not want to have the Ray versus Dominic match. He's already said it. He doesn't want to do that. And he's not going to do it. So he's not going to wrestle his son. So to be quite honest, I don't see any other way for you to do it. If you keep them both on SmackDown, it's gonna the tease for the match is going to continue. So I think you have Dominic get snatched over to Raw in the draft, and you force him to, you enforce the whole Rey Mysterio wants to see you fly on your own. You force it by taking him in the draft. I think that could be really dramatic. They like to do dramatic things in the draft, separate tag teams and all that kind of stuff. I think this could be that for this year is, you draft just Dominic from SmackDown to Raw or draft Ray to Raw. But I'm picking Dominic because I think, it'd be more dramatic if it was Dominic being taken from Ray rather than Ray being taken from Dominic. And yes, that does matter. Number 5, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens. I simply think Kevin Owens has done everything he can do on SmackDown and he's reached his limit. I do believe that, me, like all the AEW fans, I believe he has reached his limit in WWE in general. But I do think that he has some potential as a heel. He hasn't been a heel in a while. And Big E needs heels. So Big E, Kevin Owens, why not? Especially if he's about to be leaving soon. He got some equity into that character and equity into his personality and equity into the audience that you can pass to Big E. I like the idea. I love the idea. Let's do that. Kevin Owens, he's not doing anything else. Number 4, I'm going to go with Finn Balor. Now, the reason why I would move Finn Balor is because, he's already had the Roman run. And I don't know what else is there for him to do. I think that he's also hit his limit, and it hit that limit pretty fast too. So I'm not sure what else is there for him to do. And I know that there is the whodunit of who snapped the cable rope and brought the demon down to his knees. But you could always continue that mystery on Raw by having the person who did it move to Raw too. Whoever you want it to be, you could have them move to Raw as well. So I would, and plus I think Raw again needs star power. You can't put everybody on SmackDown. Speaking of star power, number 3, I would move Becky Lynch to Raw. Mainly because we know Sasha Banks is already there. But you also know that Bayley is coming back. And it might not be anytime soon. But prepare. Prepare for it. You're going when Bayley comes back, she's going to be a huge babyface. Prepare for that. Be ready for it. And have a spot open for her when she comes back. Which means that, moving somebody like Becky Lynch off of SmackDown is for the best. Getting her out of the way is for the best immediately. All right, so number 2, Shinsuke Nakamura. I believe that Shinsuke Nakamura has been on SmackDown almost his entire WWE run. He hasn't, I don't think, ever worked Raw. It's not that I think that he'll be treated better on Raw. I don't. I just think that it's time for him to have new environments. Would I send Rick Boogs with him? Sure, absolutely. I would send Big Rick Boogs with him. So I would say Boogs and Nakamura to Raw, just to see if it was different and see if he can do something more with his character that he hasn't been able to flesh out too much on SmackDown since he won the King of the Ring, since he won the crown. Number 1 pick to Raw should be Seth Rollins. Without a shadow of a doubt, it should be Seth Rollins. I don't see why we have to have Seth and Roman on the same roster. To me, It just seems unnecessary. The characters are not similar, but the characters are so strong that the clash between the two of them is inevitable, and you don't want to do that because you don't want to ruin the heat either one of them has. And I'm almost certain if they were to stand toe to toe and yell at each other, people would cheer Roman and essentially kill that tribal chief character because he wouldn't be a heel anymore. Because people hate Seth Rollins, like legit, it's to the bone. It's almost on site for some people when it comes to Seth Rollins, and that's the kind of heat that somebody needs to wrestle Big E. Big E needs to wrestle somebody who has that kind of heat, who has the kind of heat where nobody, even if people are tired of him, they don't want to see that guy win. And Seth Rollins is sort of has that kind of heat with most people. All right, so let's move over to SmackDown. Which 10 superstars would I move from SmackDown to Raw? All right, number 10, I would move Eva Marie. I think Eva Marie has, of course, done everything that she can do on Raw. I don't think they appropriately used her character. I don't think they know how to use the character of Eva Marie. So I think that she'll probably get a better coat of paint on SmackDown. That might actually use her skills as her verbal skills a lot more. Now that hasn't helped Zelina Vega too much, but ultimately I think that something different for Eva Marie is the best. Number 9, I would go with Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. I think they need to go somewhere where they could be appreciated, and they can find their audience. And I don't know, I keep saying it, SmackDown is a diversity show. You should want as many, I don't want to say people of color, as many minorities on the show as you can get. And I think that because Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza have been on Raw for so long, and they haven't really benefited from being on Raw, so let's try it on SmackDown. Let's see, if they take to that audience, if the audience takes to them. And I believe that it will. I believe that it can. I have faith in these guys. Number 8, I put AJ Styles, but that would mean separating him from Omos. So I'm going to change that from AJ Styles. I'm going to change it to Asuka. I just think that Asuka has done a lot on Raw. She's done a lot on SmackDown too, but she seems to be more at home and better used on SmackDown for the most part. So I would go with Asuka at number 8 on SmackDown. Number 7, the Viking Raiders. I will move the Viking Raiders. Have been in WWE for like 2 or 3 years. They have not worked on SmackDown yet. I like the Viking Raiders versus the Usos. Could be a pretty lengthy feud. I don't think they've had matches, or if they have, it was a long time ago. So I think that the Viking Raiders are a good team. A good pair of athletic big guys. But unfortunately, they have been lost in the shuffle because they happen to be a real tag team and not thrown together horseshit tag team. So I like the Viking Raiders. I want more for them. Hopefully, they can get a fresh run on SmackDown. Number 6, I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre. A lot of people have been saying Drew McIntyre is going to get moved to SmackDown because he's going to be the guy who's going to slay the tribal chief and free us all from the tyranny of Roman Reigns, which is entirely possible. It would make sense from a character perspective and from a storyline perspective that the Warrior would slay the corrupt king, and that would be cool and all. They are teasing now Drew McIntyre and Big E. So, but again, since when have WWE actually paid off things that they teased? I don't see any need for them to pay it off. They're just basically telling us that McIntyre is back in the main event scene, which is where he should be anyway. If they don't move McIntyre to SmackDown, but instead have him win the Royal Rumble, I think that says a lot about the status of The Rock at WrestleMania. I'm at the point now where I'm actually starting to believe the unbelievable that The Rock will actually be at WrestleMania. Normally, I would say, man, that's horse shit. It's not going to happen, but it's looking more and more likely. But if it's not, then I could see Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns as being the match at WrestleMania. Number 5, Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee really needs that move to SmackDown. I think that Keith Lee on SmackDown is, you already have a built-in story with him and Roman. Him and Roman had that little moment at Survivor Series 2019. He also had that moment with him and Brock at the Royal Rumble in 2020. Was it? Yeah, it was Royal Rumble 2020. So Keith Lee is ready. He's finally found, I believe, the right persona, the right presentation. If that's going to be, the Bearcat is going to be the appropriate presentation for him, as a serious bruiser, I'm okay with that. And even as a babyface, he can do really good stuff against Roman. He could be a really good opponent for Roman, especially in the latter part of the year. I can just see him throwing the Usos around, running through them, pouncing these guys, knocking them into the crowd and all that kind of stuff. It would be excellent. I would love to see Roman Reigns and Keith Lee. Or Keith Lee as the Intercontinental Champion or something like that, and that could be fun too. Number 4, I will go with Ricochet. I think Ricochet's been trapped on Raw this almost entire time too. He needs to break out, and SmackDown is probably the good place to break out, and I think he also needs to turn heel, and SmackDown seems to be more willing to take risks. Like, it was a risk, even though there was not much there with Apollo Crews, it was still a risk to do what they did with him. Because you run the risk of, if it doesn't work, if it completely doesn't work, then you got nothing with the guy. You can't put the genie back in the bottle once you unveil his secret accent. That's so dumb. But I think there's something to Ricochet, and I like the idea of Ricochet being on SmackDown. I just feel like he fits more on SmackDown. Number 3, I'm going to go with Charlotte. Charlotte Flair. I think ultimately the next big match for Bianca Belair is, there's 2. There is the Charlotte and there's Nia Jax. Now, the only reason I would say Nia Jax is because I think there is tremendous value in Bianca Belair doing the KOD to Nia Jax. And I think she's already done it. But, that could be like your Hogan and Andre. And I don't mean that in a literal sense. I mean the visual of her lifting Nia Jax, being one of the only women on the roster who can probably lift Nia Jax. That would be a great visual for like a WrestleMania or a big event. Of course, they'd probably just do it on SmackDown or something like that. But something tells me that she's already done it. In any event, I think Charlotte is the next big thing for somebody like Bianca. And Bianca seems to be the SmackDown staple of the women's division. Her and Sasha, because they seem to be the ones that Fox really likes. Like, of all the people that I believe ain't going nowhere, Roman and Sasha are the 2 that are set in stone and are virtually damn statues. They aren't going anywhere, okay? Everybody else, but I think Bianca is close to the Sasha Banks level if she's not leaving SmackDown. So I think that from that perspective, you do want to have another horsewoman on the roster. And something within me is saying that Bayley might get moved to Raw. But operating off the idea that Bayley will still be on SmackDown, it'll still be forever by the time she shows up. So you move Charlotte over there to fill some gaps and to be the finishing school for Bianca and some of the other girls, like, Liv Morgan, and do some stuff with Zelina Vega, and that could be fun. Shotzi and Tegan, they could work with Charlotte. That could be good. Charlotte might actually be able to get something out of some of the younger girls. That seems to be the move for SmackDown, is to try to get the younger girls involved. All right, number 2, Jeff Hardy. I will move Jeff Hardy to SmackDown. Jeff wants to wrestle Roman Reigns. I think we all want to see Jeff Hardy wrestle Roman Reigns. I think Jeff Hardy has one more main event run in him, even if it's just a TV run, kind of like Rey Mysterio's run. I think that Jeff is a big enough name for it to be a marquee match between him and Roman. But Raw has done nothing with Jeff Hardy. They've had Jeff Hardy for a year. He's done nothing. Last time he was on SmackDown, he was the Intercontinental Champion. He did a great story with Sheamus. They did an awesome job with Jeff on SmackDown. Just think about how much he missed out on wasting a year on Raw. He comes to back to SmackDown, gets in there with the Tribal Chief, maybe mixing it up with some of the other guys that are down there. It could be awesome. Number one pick from Raw to SmackDown, I'm going to go with Damien Priest. I do believe Damien. So, yes, I am switching the Intercontinental Championship and the United States title. And I think that Damien Priest, he's a pretty good Raw staple, but he's another guy who can make a good opponent for Roman Reigns. He's a babyface that people believe in, and he's big enough, he's strong enough, and with time, he could have the reputation that he could put Roman in trouble. That's really what you're thinking of here. You're looking at fresh faces to wrestle Roman, and obviously fresher matchups in other areas. Damien Priest has been hindered on Raw. Most of his run on Raw has been either him in the back pocket of Bad Bunny, him stuck in the forever feud with The Miz and John Morrison, or him being stuck in a grueling gauntlet of wrestling Sheamus every other week. At least on SmackDown, it's different. It's different digs. It does have the Hispanic audience that they've been trying to capture. That if they had done the Bad Bunny thing on SmackDown, I can't imagine how great it would have been. For their demographics, for their business metrics. But I think Damien Priest has the potential to be a top guy. But if you want Big E to be the top guy and the top babyface on Raw, you can't have Damien Priest on the show too. It just doesn't seem to make sense. He's not getting any younger. None of us are. But I think that guy just turned 39. He's older than Roman. He's I think he's older than Kenny Omega. He's about the same age as Brian Danielson. He's almost 40. So if you're going to get this guy to the main event, you need to get there fast. And him being the United States champion is good. Let him hold it for a little while, and then you start to build him towards that main event. And I think the better way for him to do it is to do it on SmackDown and to do it on Raw. On Raw, there's too much time. They'll do something stupid like have him lose in an opening match and then get disqualified in the main event or something ridiculous like that. Like, they've done some stuff with him so far that's been pretty good. But, who knows how long that's going to last. I think that the booking's a little bit more consistent on SmackDown. And I think that if, he gets onto the Roman radar, he could be taken care of and he'll be all right. So those are my 10 picks for Raw and SmackDown. See, for Raw, I got 1, Seth Rollins, 2, Shinsuke Nakamura, 3, Becky Lynch, 4, Finn Balor, 5, Kevin Owens, 6, Dominic Mysterio, 7, The Street Profits, 8, Alpha Academy, number 9, Carmella, number 10, Toni Storm. And from SmackDown, I got 1, Damien Priest, 2, Jeff Hardy, 3, Charlotte Flair, 4, Ricochet, 5, Keith Lee, 6, Drew McIntyre, 7, the Viking Raiders, 8, Asuka, 9, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, and 10, Eva Marie. So what do you guys think about the mock draft? And I also got 2 call-ups. I see Frankie Monet. I think she also does not want to be paired with John Morrison. So I can see her on SmackDown, or I think LA Knight is a much better fit for Raw. So I would call those as my call-ups. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel. Thank you guys for your time, man. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort, so question